VLOOKUP with some other functions. Now, if you open this sheet, there is a sheet called VLTrim. If you come here and if you apply the VLOOKUP function, if you apply equal to VLTab, VLOOKUP function, we have to find Bharat student and get the English marks from this table, right? And if I open the fx box, it is asking for the lookup value. We take the lookup value here. In the table array, we go and select the table, control shift side arrow, down arrow, and we freeze it, function F4, right? Column index number, we will give for English, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, right? We'll give the 4 as a column index number. And for range lookup, we'll give 0 or 1. Here, since it is exact match situation, we have to search for Bharat. Here we'll get Bharat. So we'll use 0 here and we'll say OK. As we put all these values and say enter, we'll get NA everywhere. Why we got correct in the first cell was, if we see here, Bharat, Chandan, Aditya, everywhere we have some extra spaces. How do we come to know about extra spaces? Here we can see, but in Bharat we are not able to see an extra space. But if we use the len function to count the characters here, we will see it is saying 8. But actually BHAR80 has 6 characters. So where is the space? Space is after Bharat. So now if these two spaces, if I delete and say enter, I'll get the value here, right? But these are only 5 6 values here, so you may feel that we can manually remove the space, but in case you are looking for 100 200 data, you cannot figure out where to go and remove the spaces. So one way is that we run trim on these functions. If you run trim on these functions, this is also can become effective. The other way is that if after applying VLOOKUP we are able to see lot of NA functions, we can just open the fx box. We can open the fx box, and here in the lookup value, we go and type the formula TRIM, open the bracket and close the bracket. So what we have done is the lookup values which is in this cell, we are applying a trim function, so it will remove the spaces and then it will start go and match here, right? So as soon as I do this and I say okay, you'll see that we got answer for all of them. So applying the trim function in the lookup value has yielded me answers here, right? Now if I delete this and if I apply the VLOOKUP function here also, equal to VL tab, and we open the function box, we are looking for Abhay, so we will click on Abhay. Then the table array, we will get the table array here, control shift side arrow, down arrow, and we use function F4 to phrase it. Column index number, the same subject is there, we have to look for English marks, so it is first, second, third, fourth column. I use 4 here. And range lookup, again 0 for exact match, and as I click OK, I'll get errors here. Now in this case, if I apply the len function and try to figure out whether we have spaces and click here and I say enter, Abhay has got 5 characters. This is also showing 5 characters. So in this case, lookup value is not having the difference at all. The spaces are actually in this table. If you look at Abhay, there is spaces, Akhil, there is spaces. So now we need to work on the table, not on the lookup value. So if I keep my cursor here and apply fx function, in the table I'll go and apply the trim formula. I'll close the bracket, and now when I say OK, this will give me the outputs. Now in some cases, some of the older versions of computer, you may not get the answer still here, you may get value errors. If you are getting the value error, what you need to do is that keep your cursor after the formula in the first cell, press Ctrl and Shift with your left hand, keep it pressed, don't release it, keep it pressed and hit on the enter button. As you press Ctrl Shift Enter, you will get the answers. But now we observe another problem here. All the values have gone on the left hand side of the cell. They are not on the right hand side, they have gone on the left hand side. Because we applied the trim function on a table, Excel assumed that this is text functions, because mostly we apply the trim on a text functions. So to get rid to solve this issue, what we need to do is we'll go here and get asterisk, which is for multiplication, multiply by 1 and say enter. But in case you are using older versions where you are getting value error, you have to again press Control and Shift and then press enter. And as you press enter, you will see the values have come on the right hand side and the answers are correct now. So I hope you are able to apply in both these situations and you are able to get the answers by applying trim function within the VLOOKUP function. Next, we will see with if error formulas. VLOOKUP, wherever we have to apply if error formulas, we'll just see, just delete all this. And here in this sheet, VL with if error, we will apply the if error function and we'll try to get the science marks here. We'll say equal to VL tab. We have applied the VLOOKUP. We open the function box. We are saying lookup value, find Rn, table array. We'll go and select the table, Control Shift side arrow, down arrow. We freeze the table. Column index number for the science is 3. We apply 3 here. It is exact match situation. We'll put 0 here and we'll say OK. And as soon as we say OK, we get NA here. So we will try to change the name and see if it is Arya, what happens. We are getting the answer. For Aryan, if I am putting N, I am not getting the answer. So what is happening here? When we look at this data, we see that Aryan is not in this table. And whenever a name is not in the table, it will give NA error. Now suppose you have been requested by the admin team of a school to prepare a search so that they can just put the name here and they can find out the answers, right? I'll just put some more columns here and you'll see that if we want to apply VLOOKUP function for all the subjects, I'll just select these two and I'll make it thinner, right? So here we have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 marks. I'll insert one more, Control Shift plus. And now if we are dragging VLOOKUP formula here, if I have written Arya and I delete it and enter, I am getting the values. And suppose I want to find for all of them, I'll put here Control V and I wanted to get the answers for all of them starting maths. Maths has got a column number 2, and here if I freeze the first part, function F4, drag it, and if I'm pulling it along, अगर मैंने इसको ऐसे खींच दिया, everywhere I'm getting this marks. But if I just change the column numbers here manually, I'll see that I am getting Arya's different marks everywhere. For English, if I am putting 4, I'm getting English marks. EVS is column number 5. I go and change the column number and I'm able to get the values for all the subjects by just changing the column numbers. In the coming videos, we'll see that how we will use the functions to make sure that we don't have to change even the column numbers everywhere, right? It is looking for Arya. Going this table, the column number here is 2 is written, it should be 6, and the last value is 0. We put 0, enter, we are getting 19. So we are getting 10, 50, 56, 70 and 19, all the marks here. We change the student's name, we make it Aditya, and we enter, everything changes. So you have created a search for the admin team. Wherever they are putting the name, they are able to tell the student all their marks from this big database. Now suppose a student comes who says that my name is Aryan, you enter Aryan and it gives NA everywhere. So now they may ask you that why this is happening. They may start thinking that there is a problem here, there is some problem with my search and what has to be done, but not really. The search is correct. The only thing is that VLOOKUP formula is not able to find the student name there. So in such cases, wherever we are getting an error because of the data not being present, what we can do is we can apply if error formula. Now if error formula will be applied just before VLOOKUP formula and after the equal to sign. We'll type if and we'll type if error and press the tab button. Now the Excel function is saying here that if error function you'll see, and the syntax you can see the value and value if error. So if error formula actually says that it will give you as an output two things. If I click here and if I click the effects box, you will see that the if error function is giving two outputs. One it requires is the value. Value means if the formula is correct, it will give you the correct value. Second, if the formula is wrong, if it is giving NA, then what should come here? So whatever we type here will be the output. Here we have typed the VLOOKUP formula right now. So VLOOKUP formula answers will be there. If everything is correct, it's okay. This will be shown. But in case if it is giving an error, then we need to give the text which has to come up. We'll give the text here, name. We don't need double quotes. Name not in list. So what I have said here is that I want this text to come in case of error. And if I say OK, you will see that it is showing name not in list. For Aryan, it is showing name not in list. But for say Abhay is there in the list. I enter, it will give me marks.